Yeah, I'm from Big Bad Long Island.
Maybe I could probably throw a rock and hit you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, well, don't hit me. Hit one of the other people that live here, because there's a lot of it sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of things, and then I'll just kind of leave them on the table for you guys. First off, miss Michael, miss the hell out of him, man. Like, I mean, if it wasn't for him, I never ever would have watched, unless I just happened across the documentary, The Edge of Democracy, which really, really, like, any of the other listeners, like, you guys really should check it out. It really gives a great window into that whole that whole political atmosphere down there. It's really some crazy stuff, and the documentary, is really well done. Second off, I wanted to say, wanted to talk about the just this pervasiveness of the whole QAnon thing, and how, like, I hear people from every corner of the political spectrum, like, reference these QAnon things, and, like, people who don't like Trump, people who like Trump, people who couldn't care less about any of these politics. Like I've heard people everywhere talk about this QAnon thing, and, like, it scares me, because, like, they're, like, the whole thing with, like, Bill Clinton and all these, like, we know that these rich, powerful people are all connected, and we know that many of them have these sick fucking perversions that they engage in. And, like, I'm afraid of, like, the validation of one of these things turning into, like, if one of these things gets validated, like, say, really close to the election, and it just completely turns, like, that's my biggest fear right now, is the conspiracy thing completely taking over all ends of the political spectrum as the election gets closer. And I kind of just want to, because it scares me, honestly. Like, it's not, that scares me more than probably anything, honestly. And maybe it shouldn't, but I kind of wanted you guys' thoughts on just how it kind of pervades all ideology, kind of, like, it's really weird. Like, I don't know. But anyway, and the third thing I wanted to just drop on the table for you guys, because I know you guys are, well, at least two of you are punk rockers. So anybody who's into some good, if you haven't listened to them already, you guys probably have, but if you haven't checked out Propaganda,
of course, yeah,
Canadian Canadian punk band. You want some real good anarchist, communist lyrics? Go check them out. They got some real good stuff. I don't want to get you defunded.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate everything you guys do, and I love listening to your show. I'm listening every day, so thank you.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. So, what do you want? Who wants to? Anyone want to address that first?
With regard, there's one reason I think for all the QAnon stuff is that there is these conspiracy theories or conspiracies where powerful people are getting away with stuff. And I think people are doing what Alex Jones would accuse David Icke of doing, of putting a turd in the punch bowl, and to try to basically poison the well so that people discredit all this stuff. I don't know that, like, what would happen that would validate QAnon, like something with Ghislaine, like this stuff, it seems to be increasingly more and more validated, right? You see the picture of Kevin Spacey and Ghislaine in a throne room at Buckingham Palace.
Yikes.
Right. Like it's disgusting, but I don't know, like, how it would cohere in a way that, like, would take over politics. I don't know the theory of that. I guess I'm not sure what you guys think about that.
When it comes to QAnon, I think, you just brought it up. Let's go off your example of, like, the things that are out there that actually sort of validate some of their beliefs and claims. But the weird thing about QAnon is they aren't even, like, laser focused on that stuff. Like, you'd think, right, if you had a conspiracy theory and something came out that in any way, shape, or form, like gave it some sort of backbone, you would be obsessed with pointing it out and always holding it up as proof. but they see a picture of Kevin Spacey with, Bill Clinton on a trip where they went with on Epstein's plane. And then you somehow get them talking about, Tom Hanks and Chrissy Teigen are also pedophiles. Like, why would you do that if you have something? Like, why wouldn't you be laser focused on constantly talking about Kevin Spacey? I can tell you, the Q people really don't talk about Spacey that much, which is, you'd be shocked if you think that would be something they would be, they'd be targeting on. I mean, they bring it up and they use him as part of their whole thing, but it's not really a major focus. I think what's going to happen with QAnon is, I think if Trump loses, they'll be around, probably stronger and crazier and more injected into everyday life as ever before. But I could see them sort of shifting. Like, I could see the pivot. Sort of like, I think an example is how Gamergate started as literally just a harassment campaign against one developer. Didn't even have the name Gamergate. It had a name that specifically targeted their ridiculous allegations, which was really just shaming a poor woman. And then a right winger got a hold of it, Adam Baldwin, the actor, not related to the Baldwin brothers, and he just came out and said, "We're going to call this Gamergate." And that's when it shifted to how it's about ethics in gaming journalism. QAnon will probably end up having that shift. It'll probably still maintain a lot of these, right-wing conspiracies, but the idea that it's all surrounded around Q and be called QAnon for that reason, Q is already not much of a big factor in it. I could see that quickly going away and them coming up with a more universal name that sort of encapsulates a new right-wing movement. But
it's sort of like the Republican Party. It's just going to become the Republican Party someday soon, I think.
It's weird because it's also like a religious community or cult community more than a political movement. I mean, it is putting people in Congress. But yeah, I don't know, like, for this election upcoming now, I feel like, I don't know, maybe Trump's, we could play the clips of Trump talking about it, but maybe that excites people in swing states that can marginally push it over. I mean, that would be bad if there's enough Q nuts out there that just want his validation. But I mean, I imagine a lot of those people would vote for Trump anyway.
Right.
I would not be surprised if Trump believed in it on some level, because it makes him look good, right?
The problem is, though, he gets all his stuff from TV, I think, and I don't think
he's not deep enough in the bowels of the internet.
Yeah.
No, but
here's something with a computer.
Here's something though that I think, I don't agree with that. I think it's a smart move for him, which is against every pundit I saw say something on TV last night. I saw Brian Williams talking about QAnon and trying to explain it, and he asked Claire McCaskill what she thought of it. I mean, no experts whatsoever on these sort of conspiracies or right-wing fringe movements or reactionary groups. Nothing. Just that was the discussion. But they said, "Oh, why would he do that? It's politically toxic for him. He shouldn't." Maybe when QAnon first started and it was all just Trump supporters, but over the past few months, there's been a diverse, and when I say diverse, I mean age demographics, belief and political ideological demographics. I don't know, I'm so sure about race or anything like that, but in terms of what the ideology of these people are, it's changed. The coronavirus has really given QAnon that new life that I don't know if it really needed it, but it sure helped blow it up bigger than it ever was before. Coronavirus has changed the makeup of QAnon. QAnon is not a bunch of boomer supporting Trump supporters. If you go into some of these conspiratorial Facebook QAnon groups, or you look on just the different chats and image boards, you can find 20, 30-year-old health nuts, Instagram influencers, the anti-vaxxer community,
oh boy,
moms who are really worried about children being sexually trafficked. They are all feeding into the various different tentacles that is QAnon. And if you are the one candidate out there saying, I hear you and that stuff's terrible and I'm going to do what I can to help, and you really believe in this stuff. And, maybe you're not too political and you think, you just, what you know about Trump is what you hear on from people or whatever. You might say, wow, why is Trump talking about this but not Biden? I want Trump to fight these people. I want Trump to save the children. I want Trump to make sure I don't have to vaccinate my children so they get ADD or whatever the crazy vaxxers believe nowadays. It's not politically toxic anymore. If I was a strategist for Trump, I would say, I don't know if it's a sure win, but what have you got to lose when you're looking at the polls and you're not doing too hot? Yeah, I don't see how this hurts Trump. I can only see how this helps him. How much it helps him is a question that who knows. I guess that's the question of just how big can QAnon possibly get before the election.
Yeah, anyone who thinks that this is going to hurt Trump by making him look crazy or whatever has not been paying attention for the past 4 years. I would also add more generally on the topic of conspiracy theories. I hate to be all like, capitalism is the problem with everything. Everything's capitalism's fault. But like, Anna Merlin has done some really good reporting on this. When people feel disempowered, when they feel disenfranchised, and when they feel isolated from other people, that is when they are more likely to believe conspiracy theories. And there's not a direct one-to-one correspondence with poverty, although sometimes there is. If you're looking at conspiracy theories believed by people in poor communities, there's certainly a correlation there between the shit that's being done to oppress them and the stories they come up with to explain it. It's more diffuse than that at this point in time, because we have people who are literal capitalists, small business owners, Trump's base, believing these things. People can be lonely. People can be atomized. People are isolated in this society, whether they're rich or poor, when all of your human relationships have been totally subsumed by the market. And it makes sense that it would be accelerating right now during COVID because people are even more isolated than they were before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. That's hit the nail on the head. Maybe we should play this clip actually, so people can get a gist of exactly what Trump is out there saying. Because this is the first time Trump has tipped his hat to the QAnon people. The QAnon movement has been begging for this moment. They've been waiting for this. They've been waiting for someone to ask Trump the Q question, because it would automatically basically add, like I said before,
unless you ask it correctly. Like the problem is the way this is asked is in such an irresponsible way that they think that it's like asking Superman, so do you stand for the truth, justice, and the American way like QAnon says you do? Like, what? Anyway, sorry to butt in, but it really bugs. This is malpractice by the journalists.
No, that's a perfect point. And speaking of Brian Williams before, that last night wasn't the first time I heard him talk about QAnon. The day before, it was mentioned just in passing by him. And he says to his audience, and if you want to really understand what that's all about, I encourage you to go look it up. No, do not do that. Don't tell people to go look up QAnon, because they might fall onto something that says literally there is a satanic child trafficking pedophile ring that's being run by the global elite, Hollywood liberals, and Democratic Party that Trump alone is taking down. And they might say, oh, that's what that is? How swell. I like Trump now. Like, what are you doing? Don't do that. Stop. You got to tell people what QAnon is so you can inform them straight up before they fall into some rabbit hole, why it is bad, why it is not what's happening, why it is completely fake, nonsensical bullshit. Let's get to this clip.
During the pandemic, the QAnon movement appears to be gaining a lot of followers. Can you talk about what you think about that and what you have to say to people who are following this movement right now?
Well, I don't know much about the movement other than I understand they like me very much, which I appreciate. But I don't know much about the movement. I have heard that it is gaining in popularity, and from what I've heard, these are people that when they watch the streets of Portland, when they watch what happened in New York City in just the last 6 or 7 months, but this was starting even 4 years ago when I came here. Almost 4 years, can you believe it? These are people that don't like seeing what's going on in places like Portland and places like Chicago and New York and other cities and states. And I've heard these are people that love our country and they just don't like seeing it. So I don't know really anything about it other than they do supposedly like me. And they also would like to see problems in these areas, like especially the areas that we're talking about, go away, because there's no reason the Democrats can't run a city. And if they can't, we will send in all of the federal, whether it's troops or law enforcement, whatever they'd like. We'll send them in. We'll straighten out their problem in 24 hours or less. Okay?
Well, just real quick, at the crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind? Or
Well, I haven't.
They say that you're really good. Do you believe them? And do you agree?
Like,
yeah,
this is so infuriating. The way she says this, like they say you want to say something about satanic. Like, guess what, lady? Not everyone, like, unfortunately, thinks that stuff is just something to laugh at in this country. There's actually sizable people who see that sort of thing, and are like, wow, that's kind of concerning. There's a big movement concerned with that. Maybe I should look into that. It's just this is such an infuriating failure of the media here that
right.
and just up their own ass with this.
They're asking the question as if everyone comes from their own line of thinking, which is just, I mean, from everything we've discussed, how this question, the Brian Williams question that I mentioned to you, it's like all around the media does not understand that regular people are actually concerned about some of these things, whether you think these are valid concerns or not. The QAnon stuff obviously is bullshit. They don't know that. They don't know that. You got to tell them. You got to explain to them. You have to show them.
Because guess what? If they watched mainstream media in the fucking 90s, they would have saw all sorts of satanic shit all over the media. So guess what? I don't fucking blame them. And also here, okay, in case anybody who like kind of bought into that Satan stuff, here's the inside track on the satanic panic stuff. There actually were instances of like abuse by people who would like be in sort of satanic rooms. The satanic stuff was meant to discredit the accusers. So when they went to law enforcement, were like, I was abused and there's all these Satan heads and all this stuff down. Cops would be like, you're crazy. You probably like got this through like some sort of hypnosis thing, but clearly cuckoo, because we don't have any Satanists like that. That's what the satanic element is designed for, is to discredit accusers. People don't really believe in Satan.
Right. Brendan, could you finish that clip? Because I think what Trump says next is interesting too.
Theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, you know, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put myself out there. And we are, actually. We're saving the world from a radical left philosophy that will destroy this country. And when this country is gone, the rest of the world would follow. The rest of the world would follow.
Listen, a lot of people were so shocked by Trump saying that. And obviously, yes, it's crazy that the president of the United States is validating basically a conspiracy theory about him. But, I mean, people like to talk about how Trump is stupid. That was actually a really smart answer for Trump.
Yeah. He
didn't deny anything. He didn't take credit for anything. He basically, like, the reporter walked into her own trap. She set a trap for herself, and Trump made sure he took advantage of it. It was a really good answer if you are in that world. Like, just imagine that. Trump just basically took credit for doing a good thing while also basically saying, I didn't do any of that, because is it so bad if I did do that? I mean, it's like if someone asked you, like, you know, people think you're a really smart person. You know, that's a great thing. I am, you know, that's, you know, what are you going to deny? Doing a good thing? Just take the credit, which he did. It's, you know, I just can't believe that that's what happened. Like I just the idea
Can't
you would
you?
ask the question that way.
Can't
Oh
you
my
really, really, Matt? You've been watching clips of the lamestream media for quite some time now. She was so smug when she asked it too. Like,
But it's sort of
I really got him now. I'm really making him look like an idiot. I just wish I could see the look on her face after he gave that answer.
My disbelief though is just sort of like I can't believe they even asked it in the first place. Like, can you imagine if? And I know people will say that
as a gotcha too.
Yeah, but can you imagine, like Obama as president of the United States? Could you imagine if someone from a legitimate, as in not a far right wing media source, went to a press conference and asked Obama, "Excuse me, President Obama, can you tell me if Jade Helm is really occurring?" Like you would have been, no press would have asked Obama that. What are you doing bringing something up like that to the president, President Trump? And if you do feel like that's something necessary to bring up, how would you not at least converse with someone who's from that world and can give you the proper way to ask the question without sounding like you sounded?
Yeah.
I mean,
all you have to do is ask him, they believe in X, Y, and Z. Do you really believe that this is happening and that what they say is accurate?
Or you could foreground
the
kidnappings and shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You have like if you bring it up, you have to foreground the actual harm and have to say something that he has to disavow.
Yeah,
I agree with that. It's really hard to cover the far right. Like normal journalists don't know how to do it. I'm not even sure if I know how to do it. And I've been watching the Fash for quite some time because they don't play by your normal bourgeois media rules.
I mean, for me, here's the easiest way to ask a QAnon question to someone like a Marjorie Greene or a Laura Loomer, if you want to basically make them, because you don't care about what their answer is going to be. You want to make them look ridiculous and dumb to the rest of the world. What you would say to them is, you believe that some of your soon-to-be coworkers are part of a satanic cult of child pedophile trafficking ring. How are you going to work with them? What are you going to do about it? I want to hear, because that's literally what they believe. Marjorie Taylor is going to walk into Congress come January 2021 and sit side by side with people that she's out there right now. She's saying, yeah, these people are satanic individuals who are touching children and trafficking kids, and she's going to sit down next to them and work with them. Why wouldn't she go in and take them down herself? Why don't she perform a citizen's arrest on the Democrats on the House? I want to hear, like, that's how you do it. What is her answer going to be? Because she's going to show up and sit right next to these people.
Well, sometimes you got to work from the inside.
Hey, I mean, on the other hand, Congress is where movements go to die. So maybe this is the end of QAnon.
I mean, it's where leftist movements go to
take
die.
Take it from the left, right?
I don't
exactly.
know if
yeah.
The same laws apply, but
I don't think they do.
It would be cool if that were true.
I feel like QAnon is going to make use of their powers of Congress pretty well, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the right's pretty. Look at the Tea Party; they're pretty good at. I mean, it's crazy that like people think the Tea Party is like, oh yeah, dwindle. I mean, they're still like the Tea Party caucus in Congress, and they can actually hold shit up. Like they're not like Tea Party is not a non-entity.
Like, no, they're just the Republican Party now.
Like you don't need to be rational to to have power, basically.
Right.
Yeah,
we're going to be dealing with QAnon for a long time.
Especially when there's no real opposition party to speak of. I mean, this feeds into maybe the Laura Loomer story, because I love the shock that all of these liberal media outlets still exhibit when Trump shows that he likes the QAnon people and other crazy, like, of course he does. Like this headline in the Washington Post, Laura Loomer's victory reveals Trump's priority, stoking, not policing his base. Like, did anyone think that Trump's priority was to police his base?
Policing a base is actually not something that's helpful for winning elections.
Right.
Yeah, tell that to the Democrats.
Well, I mean we should. I kind of want to get to this Obama stuff, but that's the problem with the Democrats is like they think that their job is just maintain democracy as inherited through the ages, and Republicans, view their job as destroying it, and every sort of like democratizing movement and thing we've accomplished in this country. And really, Democrats, you need to cultivate democracy. You need to get in there and, yeah.